Lunch. We've got Adam Baldwin here for another 20-minute talk.
All right, wow, we got like 6 people here. Sweet. All right, so again, I'm Adam Baldwin, not the actor on Firefly. I've actually never watched Firefly, and I don't do any acting on Chuck. So I'm more like that donkey. I'm an ass. I'm also a co-founder of Ingenuity, a small pen testing company, pen tester of webs, and I curate the exploit videos on evilpacket.net. This is going to be a talk on pillaging DVCS, or distributed version control repositories, and we're going to get technical. We're going to go through the steps to actually clone repos. We're going to focus on Git. Same tactics work for HG and Bazaar, and we're going to show you how to extract really interesting data out of those repositories. It's an interesting thing, DVCS repos. We use them to version control our software, and in the Web 2.0 era here, lots of devs are using them to deploy software, web applications specifically, because it's really easy to do something like git push or git pull, and you have your new code running, a post hook, and you've restarted your services. So you've got these devs that are essentially taking their applications, and actually they're doing the administrative work and getting them out on the internet, and there's no real admin / security involved at that point. And so we see a lot of misconfigurations, and I ran into an interesting situations while helping a client harden a site, and that was, we've got this .git repo, this .hg or this .bazaar meta directory, and we'll go into the details. We've got this directory sitting in the web root, and I thought to myself, well, what can I do with that, right? Like, the .git directory is the entire repository. Can I actually just clone that? Can I clone it? And it turns out you can't just clone it using the Git tools. You have to kind of go through a special process, which we'll do. And the process is essentially discovery. When you're doing this in mass, or as like a pen tester or something, you need to actually find the repositories first. So you need to do discovery, and you need to clone the repo after that, and then we pillage the repo. And we'll basically, I'm not going to do any more slides. We're just going to do it live. Thanks. So at this point, if anyone saw my DEF CON talk or saw anything about this, I released a set of like command line tools to do the pillaging and pwning of the repos, and I kind of got sick and tired of doing it one-on-one. So I said, what happens if I scan the internet? Turns out that's a little bit harder challenge. I had to find somebody that was really nice to hand over a giant list of domain names, and I got a nice giant list, and I scanned them. And I found a metric fuck ton of repositories. Inside of those repositories is a crap ton of data. And so we're going to kind of go through this. And this is the pillage tool. It has a nice little animation. I didn't do that. A friend of mine designed that. So this tool is a mass scanning tool for Git, HG, and Bazaar repos. It scans on EC2, it scans about 1 million domains in an hour, and that performance can actually be increased. I haven't really pushed it to its limits yet. And I've sanitized kind of the domains, so if you see anything that you're not supposed to, just close your eyes. It's not released yet. It's out on EC2. I'm going to release it as soon as I polish a little bit. I had to fix a whole bunch of bugs for the Git stuff for this talk, but I'll be releasing it eventually. You can do all the same stuff I'm showing here with the command line tools that are already out there. Anyway, so like I said, the first step in pillaging a DVCS repo is finding it, right? So what I did, the scanning tool actually only looks in the base directory of the domain. So if you go to something like, let's look at the toolbar for that. So we should probably blow that up a little bit. Oh, I don't know if you can see right there. That should make I don't know what's that? Okay. Anyway, if anybody caught that, How you find it is you look for each directory type actually has a index file. Let's blow this up. Actually has an index file or telltale predictable files. So Git has a head file. Man, this is really annoying. Git has a head file, which is right here. That head file, again, has, we go back to this particular individual site. It has a pattern in it that looks like that. And so you're pretty much going to, if you can trigger on the beginning, ref colon whatever, if you trigger on that file, a particular file, you're going to find a Git repo. Again, .hg has a similar file. This requires file. Of course, you're going to frickin' download it, which has got like revlog or store or fn cache. Those are typically in that file. That's how you actually identify these. Bazaar has a very similar thing. And so when you actually run a Git clone, see if I can blow this up. You do like a Git clone, localhost 8000. It's going to say trying to clone it, and it's going to say GTFO. Basically, it's like, hey, you can't do that because you haven't. We don't know where all the special files are. Git has these pack files that you can't predict the names of. However, you can predict the names of basically everything else. And if we go back to Git and we look, we've got basically an index file. This particular index file is a binary file that contains a listing of all the files in the repo. In most web apps, that's going to be the web root. It's going to be really, really handy to feed a burp or whatever. And that index also contains SHA values, which are SHA hashes of those files, and that just is a pointer to the objects directory. The objects directory is the directory is the first 2 digits of the hash, and you go into that, and these are actually just the binary files. And you can pull those down by basically building your own Git client, which is sort of what I've done with this. Same thing works for Mercurial or Bazaar. It's just a little bit different format. HG repos are 100% clonable. Bazaar is 100% clonable. Git is not always 100% clonable because of the fact that if files are, I don't know, some magical Git thing that somebody smarter than me probably knows about, those are put into a pack file and you can't easily predict that name. So let's see. That's discovery. So once you've discovered a repo, you need to clone it. The cloning process is basically what I just described, and we basically put that into a nice web interface. Let's blow that up a little bit, where we can actually just look at those in a web interface, quickly see what the files are in there, and pillage the living crap out of those repos. Backing up before I actually demo a little bit more of the tool, one thing like web app pen testers are going to be interested in, and I guess I can't see it there, is a file called gitignore or hgignore, and that's all the files that the web dev or the dev doesn't want to put into their repo. So chances are it's log files or any other thing that the app generates dynamically that's going to crap out into the web root that you don't actually want to have in your repo. But usually they're specific file names of like blah 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 creditcard.csv or something, and you can just go to that URL. So here's let's just kind of go through the tool and see kind of what we have in these. I selectively picked a whole bunch of repos with Florzan's help yesterday. Out of about 1,500. The ratio of repos that I found, it's about 1,000 to 1,000,000. So you're going to find about 1,000 repos to 1,500 Git repos in 1,000,000 domains. HG is about 1/3 of that, and Bazaar is just under that for the ratio. Git is way, way, way more popular in the web appy world. So let's look at a couple of these things. There's a few different views. There's this filtered view, which just some regex. Looking for specific file names, right? It's just, literally, this is just parsing the index file. I didn't even have to pull down all the objects and everything. And yeah, that's a horrible icon. It says pwned. That just means that we've actually pulled down the source. So I can either click on the file name, right, like this HT password. I can either click on the file name and it's going to go out to this domain that I don't want to show you because I probably shouldn't. It's going to go out to that site and give you the view on the remote source. Or if it's got the little icon, you can basically click on it and open it up, and it's going to show you the the HT password file contents because it's being pulled out of the source code repo locally, not from the remote system. So what we did there was we pulled down all the object references and then restored the repo, if that makes sense. There's some interesting things. There's a search that we can throw. Of course, it's going to work, right? We can throw interesting regex at it, like what are useful things while we're looking for data, in specifically like a web app assessment or attack. How about SQL dumps? And hopefully this is sanitized. There we go. Here's backups of full databases. Some of these have salted passwords. Some have email addresses, posts, things like that. Very, very useful information from a assessment perspective. Let's see if this one actually finds anything. ID RSA. If that doesn't find it, we'll find it over here. So this is a little command line tool to search through another data set that I have of repos I found. Please be sanitized. Yeah, so ID RSA.pub. We'll clear that now. So there's a lot of crap that devs are putting in repos that's very, 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 very interesting. And I'm just going to kind of go through in the pillaging portion. I want to just show examples of what's in there, and we're just going to kind of go down through them. If you have any questions, just shout them out randomly. It would be useful. See if I can find anything. We pretty much said we're going to do it live, so we're going to find something interesting here quickly. Of course, I ain't finding shit. Should have had notes, right? And see, if stuff doesn't show up in the refined search, you've got 364 files to go through. You have a crap ton of data. You can figure out what platform they're running. There's a crap ton of WordPress sites out there, and you can tell what their backup strategy is. If there's log files, let's see. Here's admin/i.php. This one is actually just PHP info. Oh, yeah, there you go. So useful stuff as you're digging through. It's a really interesting kind of data gathering source, I should say. It's like dumpster diving online. You don't have to leave your couch. If anyone went to Josh's talk, it's like, yeah, you don't have to leave your couch, drink a beer, and just kind of dig through people's trash. It's really, really, really useful. Let's see. There's some other good examples here. Now, one thing you'll see is that the count on, like I said, the count on these repos are not, it's not complete, right? And sometimes, just like the Toorcon 13, right? We base a lot of things on luck. Sometimes you get lucky and you pop the db.config fig file and you get a database password and you can log in remote. Sometimes you don't, especially with Git. There should be a lot of these. Hey, there you go. Guess what? Those all have database passwords in them. Devs just like to put that stuff in their convenience. A lot of config files. And there's a freaking WordPress just everywhere. So those are just a few examples of what we can do with the tool. Like I said, it's a mass scanning tool. The same thing could probably be done with an nmap script, with some regular expressions. The regular expressions are in the command line tool. I like that guy. Here's a few other examples that I've given previously that kind of are a little more impacting. Again, database passwords. Database dump, yes, that does say .gov. Git pillaging, yeah, we went through that. Customer invoices. This particular site had invoices for every single customer transaction they've ever done. Really, really useful. How about this? API keys, Twitter, Facebook, yeah, MySpace. Still use MySpace apparently. SSH keys for their EC2 instances, RSA, and here's a really interesting tactic. You run into an htaccess protected directory and you want to round it. Well, this one was interesting. So I found all these CSV files, and I don't know frickin' German, but Bankdaten probably isn't good. So I looked at it and I was like, oh, it's password protected. And then I looked in the repo and I was like, it downloaded all the CSV files, yay! And then I looked at them, and then there's names and account numbers and routing numbers for all of their customers for every transaction they've ever done. And it's a giant pain in the ass notifying, you know, all of the internet when you find it just, you know, crap ton of repos. Credit card numbers and doc files. So yeah, look at doc files. XLS files, really useful. PowerPoint files, PDFs. That's where the tool is. I'll release the other tool as soon as I fix the code. If you have any questions or you want to work on it or you want a copy of it, I'll feel free to give it to you. And any questions? I kind of blew through that, so 4 minutes. Yes?
So have you looked at building in Subversion and CVS and all the other?
So that's the interesting thing about Subversion. So there's a discovery tool for W3AF that I wrote for the previous talk. And that just does discovery of the Git bazaar material, right? They already had SVN support. SVN is not a distributed version control system, so it does not contain all the metadirectory to recreate the entire repository. So you have to have your working directory and your metadata with SVN, whereas with Git, you could have no working data in your web root and just have that metadirectory and be able to clone the majority of the repo. HD again, full clone.
Like manually through the web interface, on the fly, add like a Subversion URL or something, so that even if you don't have the key discover all file in the tree, if you know that directory system, just take it down, add all in your web.
There's at least some data, right? There's a bunch of stuff in the SVN metadirectory, right, that's useful. The other thing that's useful with the data that you're getting out of this is that you could take it one step further and actually do, oh, we got a PHP file, let's throw it off to, we found a WordPress site, let's throw it to WP Scanner. We found Python files, let's throw it to this linter over here and see if we can actually find anything from an automatic perspective. It would be a useful future application of I don't know, this particular thing, cause.
At the moment, you said that your tool currently just scans websites randomly?
Yeah, you feed it data.
Okay, so we are able to feed it some sort of scope to, maintain the scope of whatever assessment we're testing.
You could give it, and right now it only scans the base URL. So if you only had one domain, it's going to make one request. And that's the other interesting piece about this is that Git repos or HT repos could live anywhere in the tree, right? You might have a /images directory, and then that's the repo for all the images, or the PDF, or the whatever, and you might find it in some subdirectory. So this currently is limited. I do have an interesting grease monkey script that goes along with this. So as I'm surfing, it actually just scrapes the page for all the A links in the page, dumps it off to this, and then it just scans them. So as I'm like just surfing around, it's really useful. Again, kind of throws my surfing habits out there, but whatever. An answer?
My second question, like the recursive directory, that would be useful also.
Yeah, it's useful. I did write a scanner. It's really slow. That I just said, hey, point at this website and then crawl. I typically find, though, from a statistics perspective, from scanning all the directories recursively down like the W3F plugin does, you actually are more likely to find it right in the web root, because that's what devs are doing. That's the dev mentality of how they are building and pushing out this software. Any other questions, comments? Yes?
Does this look primarily just at the head?
For identification, yes.
Okay, but at that point it goes through the entire history. How do you handle any, duplicates within history or changes there?
The index file in its current state won't have any duplicates, I don't believe. Basically, it just gets them if there are duplicates. It's just, it's stupid that way. The reason I check the head and not get the index file and see if it's an actual Git repo or something is because index files can be freaking huge. And head files are, guess what? Tiny. And so it's really, really fast. Did that answer your question?
It's more just trying to figure out, looking through, just scanning through these repos, are you trying to see any of the history of the site, development of the site, or is that just, to be expanded upon that?
To be expanded upon, yeah, there's no archiving, there's no history tracking. And that's pretty much time. So if you got any questions, hit me up in the hall, let me know. Again, Evil Packet or Adam_Baldwin on Twitter. And that's it. Thanks.